What is the 12 laws of presumption, y'all? This is right here. You need to tap in. I'm about to go straight in, right? The 12 laws they use to own you in court unless you speak up. Again, these are the 12 laws they use against you if you do not speak up in court, right? Okay? So the 12 laws of presumption, I'm going to go straight into it, right? You ever wonder why courts, they treat you like you've already been like guilty or broke before you even speak? these ancient laws, these ancient laws are why. If you do not rebut them, they control the outcome. If you do not rebut them, they control the outcome. And here's why, right? Learn what the system assumes about you and how to recognize the traps. From silence is consent. Silence is consent to your dead in law. This is deep. If not, you are dead in law. Based on canon law, trust law, and commercial law, and again, this is not legal advice, just education. So I just want to make a disclaimer. This video is for educational and information purposes only. It is not legal advice. Please consult with a licensed attorney for legal matters, okay? Fair use. This content is protected under the Fair Use Act, okay? So I'm going to go into each law of presumptions, and there's 12 of them, right? So the 12 laws of presumptions refer to foundational, legal, and ecclesiastical doctrines, principles by which courts, especially courts of equity or administrative jurisdiction, make assumptions about your legal standing and authority unless you rebut or correct them. These presumptions determine how the court treats you, whether it's as a ward of the state, a debtor, a trustee, or someone dead in law. Okay? In simple terms, presumptions are what the court believes is true unless you say otherwise on record. Wow. The 12 presumptions are administrative legal maximums, often drawn from canon law and Roman law, that assumes facts about your legal status, capacity, and consent unless you rebut or clarify in the proper form, language, and jurisdiction. That's deep, y'all. Let me give you kind of the origin of where, the 12 laws of presumption came from, right? The 12 laws of presumption stem primarily from ecclesiastical canon law and Roman civil law, not common law, okay? They were codified and enforced under the Roman and Vatican system, primarily through the course of the Holy See and later under admiralty and equity jurisdiction. These laws also flow from trust law, where roles like trustee, beneficiary, and executor are presumed if not properly declared. Okay, more precisely, right? They became enforceable through courts of equity and admiralty after the Bankruptcy Act, which shifted jurisdiction away from common law towards administrative law. They are now embedded in civil administrative processes. Your local court, family court, traffic court, tax court, probate court, all non-Article 3 courts operating under presumptive authority unless rebutted. People charging thousands for this stuff, y'all, but I'm going to give it to y'all straight for free. Thousands for this stuff. And how do I know? Because I've heard it. Okay? I've heard it. So under canon law, which are a historical context of it, context law developed the idea of legal presumptions assuming fact, not in evidence unless rebutted. After 1302, Papal Bull, unnamed Scampdom, the Vatican declared global trust over all property and people. Wow. From this emerged the Custody Trust, treating individuals as property unless claimed. These ideas spread into British law and from there onto U.S. commercial law via the Uniform Commercial Code and equity jurisdiction. I'm dropping some straight bombs. The first law of presumption. a public record. What does it mean? If there is no public record, like any affidavit, court filings, or any notices, the court presumes nothing is until you support your claim. For an example, right? If you say someone owes you money, but you never feel anything official, the court will assume you're making up or is not serious. Okay? If it ain't on paper and filed properly, it doesn't count. That's number one. Number two law is the presumption of silence. What it means. If you stay silent after someone accused you or served you a legal notice, the court assumes you agree. Look at that, y'all. For example, if a company sues you and sends you a notice and you do not answer, the court says you agree with them, even if you don't. Your silence is your agreement in court. Period. Number three, the law presumption of consent. What it means, if you go along with something and don't object, you are presumed to have agreed, even if you don't say yes out loud, okay? Example, you walk through an airport security, you didn't say, I agree to be searched. But by doing it without protest, you've given consent, okay? If you don't say no, they think you said yes. Crazy, right? Number four, the law of presumption of parents partai, a new term I just learned, which means the government acts as your parent of the people, especially when you don't claim your rights. They step in to protect you or control you. If you do not claim ownership of your name or estate, the state will manage it like a parent over a child. Like when CPS come in and take your child, even if you don't claim your parental rights. If you act like a child, the state becomes your parent. Simple. Number five, the law presumption of wards of the state, which means if you accept government benefits or fail to declare independence, the court assumes you are a dependent, like a ward or a minor. Example, if you get welfare or use a public defender, the court sees you as needing protection and you're no longer in full control. Bam! Look at your public defenders. Look at that. Again, if you get welfare or use public defender, the court sees you as needing protection and no longer in full control. He who takes the king's coin becomes the king's man. Wow. Law of presumption of trustee, which means if you don't say who's in a trust, who is the trustee, grantor, or beneficiary, the court is going to assume you are the trustee. I just made a video about this. The one with all the duty and none of the benefits. Okay? Example, in court, if they treat you like the trustee who owes money, not the one benefiting from the trust, unless you say, I'm the beneficiary. Literally, I just did a video on this. The one who stays silent gets stuck with the bill. Look at that, y'all. I ain't know this. Number 7, the law of presumption of agent, which means if you use something government created like a social security number, driver's license, you're presumed to be their agent, acting under their rules. Okay? Example, if you sign your name on a government form, you're acting as their agent, which means they can hold you responsible. If you use their stuff, you follow their rules. Okay? Law of presumption of death. If you don't show signs of life, filings, responses, any declarations, you're presumed dead in law, civil dead, and the court can handle your affairs because you're dead to them. Okay? So people come all this stuff with this court stuff and laws. You're presumed dead. If you do not speak up, you don't exist to them. Okay? The law of presumptions of incompetence, which means if you don't claim your competency, the system assumes you're legally incompetent, like a child or someone with a disability. If you do not speak up for yourself in court, the judge presumes you can't. So they appoint a lawyer to control everything. Act dumb, get treated dumb. Number 10, law of presumption of guilt. If you don't rebut a claim or prove your innocence, the court assumes you're guilty. If the prosecutor, for example, if the prosecutor says you broke the contract and you don't respond or counterclaim, they assume you agree. In court, you must speak or you lose by default. You see how that goes? Number 11, the law of presumption of ownership. What it means, if someone has possession of something like a car, a house, or an account, the court presumes they own it unless it's challenged. So, example, if you get a car repossessed and you don't dispute it, the repo company is presumed to be lawful owner now. Possession and 9/10 of the law. Wow. The last but not least, law of presumption of sovereign authority. Okay, what that means. If you don't declare and show evidence that you are the sovereign or the living man or woman with rights, the court assumes the state or judge is sovereign over you. Okay, if you walk into court as Mr. John Smith, John Doe, a name of the corporate created government name, and you do not correct the record, they assume you are under their control. He who fails to claim sovereignty is ruled by another. Bam, simple as that. And you got people charging $500,000, $600,000 just to learn this stuff, y'all. Okay, it's simple. Look at the 12 laws. I'm out of here.